good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for coming out today. We've got some exciting specifics to share with you about the latest impact from the American Rescue Plan, federal funds, and how they're going to make the lives of both our people and our community better. Now, like other cities across our nation, Louisville has faced and is still facing a critical challenge in addressing the needs of those of us with no stable housing, and we're committed to finding an array of options for them. Compassion and health, as everybody's heard over the years, are two of our three cities' core values, and I truly believe that the reason we're here today rests squarely on those values and our intention to lean into them as much as it does on the dedicated funding for supportive housing projects and the many wonderful people here up on this stage that have worked just for years and decades to try to improve the housing conditions of people in our city. We're putting more of the much-needed and much-appreciated federal American Rescue Plan funds where our values are and where they have the potential to have the greatest impact. Now, we all know that there's a lot that happens in the world that we can't control. It can be the weather, droughts, hurricane in Florida today, conflict. But when we know where the hungry, the homeless, the sick exist, we can help. It's a moral imperative that we do this. It's also an economic imperative. It's just these are our brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. We've got to be there to help. We have a four-pronged plan to help residents with housing challenges that we've spoken about over the past half year or so, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today. Now, our first goal is to help struggling residents avoid losing their housing in the first place. But when they do, we work to help them find safety in emergency shelters and then move back into permanent housing with the needed supports. In the years, over these last 10 years or so, this administration has invested $106 million in affordable housing. We've invested another $13 million in the down payment assistance program and more than $38 million in home repair programs. Additionally, we invested about $100 million in eviction prevention programs. So large amounts of money, and obviously a big priority of this administration and the Metro Council. Now, thanks to the American Rescue Plan funding, we can do more. And some of our residents who wrestle with houselessness, they need more. And just as people aren't the same, what has contributed to someone's struggle that does not have a home or a house, they're not all the same reasons either. And the possible solutions aren't the same. Not everybody is ready to transition to housing, so we have funded options to meet our neighbors where they are and help them transition to better housing options to meet their needs. These options include the safe outdoor space, we call the Hope Village, which provides housing and support services to people moving from living on the street to more permanent supportive housing, a housed community. A lot of demand for the Hope Village, and it's full almost all the time with a waiting list. We're working on a second tier of bridge housing, which is more permanent than the safe outdoor space, but still a step away from permanent housing. And our options will include permanent supportive housing, which includes wraparound services, not as independent as affordable housing, but a great transition step for those moving to affordable housing. And today, we are very proud to announce that we are investing $32 million of American Rescue Plan funds in permanent supportive housing, which provides both housing and support services for our most vulnerable residents and their families, those with disabilities who also are houseless, $32 million. With everything, it takes partners, and I am really grateful to our partners at St. John's Shelter for the Homeless, Volunteers of America, Wellspring, House of Ruth, and Choices for Being for willing to apply for these grants and come up with solutions to our housing needs. These organizations have submitted plans to not only build new housing to add to our overall housing stock, but also provide supportive housing that meets the needs of our disabled neighbors and their families. These services will help residents maintain housing and health and provide an opportunity to thrive. We look forward to finalizing our negotiations with the organizations and moving forward to provide housing to our most vulnerable residents. Likewise, I'm very grateful to our partners on the Metro Council for their hard work around this initiative and all the American Rescue Plan initiatives, and for heading up the public feedback sessions for the federal American Rescue Plan funding. We're going to hear from two council people, Bill Hollander and Jacory Arthur. First, we're going to hear from Councilman Bill Hollander. Councilman Hollander will be retiring from the council at the end of this year after 8 years of great service to our city, after being managing partner at one of the large law firms in our city. Just a wonderful example of a tremendous citizen who did good work in the community from a business side and said, I still have public service in my veins. There's not many people like Bill Hollander. They've got a heart for justice and helping people, and one of his main priorities during his time in office has been housing, affordable housing, and he has been central to the community's progress in this effort. So please welcome Bill Hollander.
Thank you, Mayor. You're going to be hearing from Councilman Arthur in a moment. I also want to thank two other members of the Metro Council who were involved in the work group that worked on housing issues. It was in the second round of funding. One of the first things we did with American Rescue Plan was fund affordable housing, rental assistance, and the permanent supportive housing that we're addressing today. And that's Councilwoman McCraney and Councilman Scott Reed. The solution to homelessness is housing. There's abundant and growing evidence that communities with affordable housing shortages have more houseless neighbors. We also know that many people who are living on the street need more than just a key to an apartment to get back on their feet, and they may need that help for an extended period of time. Housing and services are what the units being announced today provide. That's obviously important for the people who will live in those units, but it's also a good investment for the community because, just like housing, houselessness is expensive. People who remain unhoused stress a range of city services, including public safety, criminal justice, public health, and our hospitals. We can improve lives and reduce those stresses and expenses by providing more permanent supportive housing. As the mayor said, we've invested more than $100 million in affordable housing since 2015 in Louisville. Today's announcement is a critical addition to that work and a great investment for Louisville.
Councilman Arthur, just out of the classroom, I understand. If there's good work to be done and if there's justice to be served, you know Councilman Jacory Arthur will be right in the middle of that, and providing homes to those in need is certainly in that area. Councilman, we appreciate your good work as well.
I'd like to just give a few thank yous. Number one, thank you to the people who are not in this room who contributed to the feedback and the survey that we put out about the American Rescue Plan. Overwhelmingly, community said that we should fund housing. And guess what? We funded more than anything else. That is a direct reflection of what people in this city, what Louisvillians said we desperately need. And I'm proud we were able to address that need with some of this money. I also want to say thank you to the people, of course, on the stage. Council members largely aren't experts in a lot of the fields that we work in, that we legislate around. We're just regular people, elected by other regular people to do things to help regular people. And the people behind me, the people around us today, these are the experts. These are the people who have the experiences that help get us to where we are. And I'm so proud that they'll be receiving some of this funding to make sure that people get housed. And then I also want to just thank the people who are doing outreach work on a daily basis, on a nightly basis, giving out tents, making sure people have food, advocating for folks, just showing up in crisis when people desperately need it. I think that local government, overwhelmingly, you hear a lot how we should prioritize public safety. And where should you feel the most safe? In your home. But if you don't have a place to call home, a permanent place to call home, a sustainable place to call home, a consistent place to call home, you're the least safe person in the city of Louisville. There have been plenty of studies that show people who are unhoused are victims of crimes at higher rates than any other group of people in this country. A majority of them are black families. This is a crisis that I'm glad local government is addressing as much as we can, but we also need help from the state and we also need help from the feds. If you took every housing unit and the average amount of families in those housing units that we're missing in the city of Louisville, and you put them all in the same place, we're talking about the third largest city in the state of Kentucky. This is something that we absolutely need to address for generations. And I'm glad that we're starting that with the American Rescue Plan dollars. So thank you, thank you, thank you to every advocate, to every volunteer, to every person who showed up. Thank you to the experts on this stage, and let's keep going.
Amen to that, the let's keep going. So of the $388 million American Rescue Plan, about $100 million went to housing and homeless mitigation. So as the councilman said, it was our number one area of assistance, and we're pleased and proud of the city for stepping up on that. For the folks behind the stage, we've talked for years, right? We need money, we need money. Well, finally, we have some money. But to the councilman's point, it's just a start. When you think about the need that we have in our community for 30% adjusted median income and down, we still need around 30,000 homes. You know, that's $4.5 billion here in our city. Cincinnati, they're a bigger city than ours, so their need would be about $6.5 billion. Same in Indianapolis, same in Nashville. This is a federal crisis. And so local governments can do what we can do, but this requires a much bigger solution statewide and nationally as well. So while we keep chipping away at the problem, when you think about America as the richest country in the world and the way we have so many of our people living in such difficult circumstances, it makes us question of whether or not our priorities are right in this country. So the point is we need a large solution for a large problem. We're happy about the progress we're making here today, and we intend to set models that then can be duplicated again here in our city and other cities around the country as well. So it's a happy day that we can get started on a problem that's much bigger, but it's better than not getting started at all. And if we didn't have great partners in our city that knew what to do, obviously we wouldn't be anywhere. The partners behind me have been toiling in the field for a long time, knowing how to take 10 cents and turn it into $1. So finally we have some bigger funds where we can do some nice new things that can be state of the art. So we're going to hear from a few of our partners now who will be doing this life-changing work. And first up is Ray Martin. Ray is doing an incredible job as Executive Director of St. John's Center for the Homelessness, and we look forward to this kind of expansion of the work that they're doing there at St. John.
We say all the time, it takes a village to do this work, and so I'm very thankful for everybody who is a part of St. John Center's village, our team members, our members of our board, our great partners, LDG Development, and all the members of Metro government who've really helped get us here today, just all the people in our community who support our work and support our mission. So thank you to everybody. Today's announcement is momentous for St. John Center. It's momentous for Louisville and for Kentucky. For 36 years, St. John Center has been responding to the needs of people living in our community who do not have adequate housing. We provide street outreach, day shelters, social services, and supportive housing. But in all that we do, we believe that housing is a right. It is the first thing that we need to meet all the other basic needs. In order to learn, to grow, to be physically and mentally well, people need housing. So St. John Center is thrilled that today's announcement is one of investment in that basic human right, housing. So with the support of these American Rescue Funds, St. John Center will work with our friends at LDG Development to create an affordable, supportive development that will be the first of its kind in Kentucky. So just as St. John Center believes that housing is a human right, LDG Development, they operate from the core value that everyone deserves a quality place to live. We are very grateful and proud of the partnership that we're forming with LDG Development. So with this investment of American Rescue Funds, St. John Center and LDG will create Sheehan Landing, a housing community that embodies these values, like its namesake, Sister Mary Kathleen Sheehan, who is our founding director, recognizes the dignity of every person who lives there. While this model of housing has been very successful in other states and other cities, it will be the first of its kind here in Louisville, Kentucky. For the first time, we will be creating supportive housing at a scale that will begin to address the need that the community has seen. More important than what the funding means to us as an agency is what Sheehan Landing will provide for the people who live there. And I'd like to tell you about one of the people that we serve, one of the residents who really represent the people that we seek to house and seek to serve. So in June, Susan Bacino, the Director of Homeless Services for Metro Government, she called St. John Center because she had seen a gentleman who we'll call Nick. And Director Bacino and I, we both know Nick. He has been a part of St. John Center's program and has been in supportive housing with other programs here in the city. So once she called us, she seen Nick on a bus stop. He was covered in dirt. He was in a wheelchair. He was living at the bus shelter. And she said, I thought he had moved into permanent housing. What had happened? So what happened is that despite the fact that he had moved into a subsidized apartment about a year ago, despite the weekly visits from his case managers, daily living became overwhelming for Nick. He had physical disabilities and ongoing substance use disorder. He found himself isolated, lonely, unable to keep a clean space for himself, unable to keep himself clean. He struggled to maintain relationships with his neighbors, with his landlords, and to prevent people he had camped with from moving inside of his apartment. One thing led to another, and Nick was evicted again. And every time a person is evicted, the struggle to get to the next landlord to rent to them is that much greater. So Nick, like many others in our city, did not have access to overnight shelter because of his background. So evicted again, he was living at a bus shelter in his wheelchair, unable to clean himself, unable to feed himself. It's hard to overstate the dire circumstances that Nick was living in. And he is far from being the only person in our city facing a combination of complex disabilities, high levels of trauma, and a lack of community or network. Nick, like many others, need housing coupled with support, with intensive services and opportunity to reduce social isolation. So today, we are really excited to say that place where Nick and others like him, where they can live and get the support that they need, that is on the way with Sheehan Landing. So this funding from American Rescue Plan will launch a supportive housing community in Metro Louisville, a place with clean, bright, one-bedroom apartments where people who have experienced chronic homelessness can live independently because the services that they need are in the building, because people who care about them, people who know their situations, are also in the building. So if Nick or someone like Nick, if they leave and they don't come back, somebody can follow up and figure out where Nick is. A place with rooms for residents and community to gather, a place with a health room staffed with community health workers who can more quickly address the medical needs before they reach a point of crisis. This place will be staffed 24 hours a day, and it will be full of services that Nick and people like him will need to live independently and stay housed forever. A place where Nick can be at home, supported, and have access to community. And if it seems simple, it's because it is. Housing is right, and we know that housing is a cure for so many of the ailments that we are experiencing as a community. It's what we want for everybody that we serve. It's what we all want, a place to be safe, a place to be supported, and a place to call home. In meeting this simple basic right, the affordable housing in a supportive community, funding from the American Rescue Plan is being put to work to do something transformative for us all and for the people that we serve. So we are very thankful for the support of Metro government, again, all the people on this stage and all the people in our community who helped us get here, and of course for our partnership with LDG Development. So thank you all, and we're looking forward to moving forward.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate your great work at St. John. I also want just to call out Maria Price, who obviously has been a real champion in our community for a long time of helping folks who worked with you all at St. John for a long time. So we appreciate her good work as well. Speaking of good work, the VOA has been a constant force in our community. Again, where there's need, they show up. They're very impressive the way also they use data and metrics to drive where they can get the greatest return on their investment to help the most amount of people. So here with us today is Tamara Reif. She's the Senior Director of Housing Services for the Volunteers of America, and she's going to share some thoughts with us. Tamara?
I want to just start by thanking Mayor Fisher and the entire Louisville Metro team that's working so closely with us on this exciting project. Volunteers of America is truly grateful for the support and the partnership. As many of you know, VOA provides nearly 50 programs that serve families and individuals across Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, and even Clark and Floyd counties. And one of VOA's main goals has always been to provide affordable, high-quality housing. housing. The Monarch Station project will be a perfect complement to our ongoing services for families who are unhoused or experiencing housing crisis. Monarch Station is a new and exciting addition. This project is innovative and timely. I think Ray said the same thing. It is about now and doing this now. It represents an integrated housing model unlike anything that's been done in Louisville before and puts into place best practices for providing housing to families who are having an increasingly tough time finding the safe and affordable and permanent homes that they deserve. The project is located on Bland Street. It's neighboring VOA's existing Shelby campus, where we already provide a range of comprehensive services. The land is a gift of a donor who knows our work, is aware of our proven outcomes, and simply seeks to provide more housing options for low-income families. The location is important. VOA will be bringing more high-quality, safe, affordable housing to a changing neighborhood that desperately needs to maintain options for Louisville families. We believe that Monarch Station can be a game-changing example for how to serve Louisville families. Our goals include providing permanent supportive housing that can be sustained over time, develop vacant lots to fill gaps in neighborhoods that have become or might become eyesores and places of encouraged unwanted activities, and becoming a model for other developers and service providers for what can be done to make positive change in Louisville and across our region and nation. We certainly will do this anywhere that somebody wants to have us. Working together with Beargrass and Louisville Metro government, here's how Monarch Station will make a real difference. The project will have a total of 80 units. 60 of the units will be affordable rental housing, and 20 units will be supportive housing. This development is desperately needed in a community where housing prices are rising and many long-term residents are struggling to maintain their own homes. The location is on a bus line that provides convenient transportation, is close to healthcare options, schools, parks, and other amenities. Building more affordable housing to serve this neighborhood fits Louisville's long-term housing goals and is simply the right thing to do. In addition to developing new housing, VOA will provide supportive services to families. VOA excels and has experience in providing services that address the root cause that lead to being unhoused. We will provide on-site targeted case management, job coaching, housing specialist services, referrals to substance use disorder treatment, and counseling services. We will also work with the many partners that we do already, but continue to have partnerships with a diverse group of organizations that provide primary care services, legal assistance, children's services for any special needs, and a variety of other social services to our target population. Our goal is simple: work every day to help families find and maintain stable housing. VOA understands this need and has been on the front lines of Louisville's affordable housing efforts for more than 35 years. Developing Monarch Station is a logical expansion of our commitment to the people of Louisville. We are energized by this opportunity, thankful for the support, and cannot wait to get started. Our mission is to change lives, and that is what Monarch Station will do. Thank you so much to all our partners and everybody on the stage with me.
So we've heard from St. John's and VOA. Also in this grant, as I mentioned, is Wellspring. As $3.3 million to purchase and remodel units for permanent supportive housing. So we want to thank the Wellspring team for being here. The House of Ruth, $6.5 million for 40 units of permanent supportive housing as well. So House of Ruth, okay, thank you. And then $120,000 to Choices, and that's for one home for permanent supportive housing as well. So thank you to them. Thank you to Margaret Handmaker again over here. Margaret has shepherded our American Rescue Plan effort for the city, which has been a huge task of working with my office, the community, the Metro Council, and then figuring out what's the best way to get the biggest bang for the buck from these projects. And Margaret is a fierce advocate for affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. I know you took this particular assignment. You take all your assignments very seriously. This one meant even more to you, though, because of your heart for helping people. So, Margaret Handmaker, thank you very much. Okay, and just a last shout out to Marilyn Harris over here for all of her work over the years with housing for our community. This has got to be a happy day for you. Good, thank you. Okay. And then Alicia Ariati over here manages so many of these projects. So when you think about, okay, we got the money, now we're announcing it, how do we get stuff done? So Alicia is one of our main project managers on so many of these efforts, and thank you for making sure all this stuff happens. Thanks, everybody, for coming today, and again, thank you to all of our champions in the community for housing. Thank you.